North Korea has fired a missile over Japan, which Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called the most serious and grave ever threat to the country. The missile was fired just before 6 a.m. in Japan. The launch set off warnings in the northern part of the country, urging people to seek shelter. It flew over Arimamazaki, on the northern island of Hokkaido, and broke into 3 pieces before falling into the Pacific Ocean, about 1,180 kilometers, 733 miles, off the Japanese coast. The missile was in flight for about 14 minutes, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga said at an emergency press conference. There is no immediate report of the fallen objects and no damage to the ships and aircraft, he added. Abe told reporters he had a 40-minute phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump to discuss the missile launch. The two countries have requested an urgent meeting of the United Nations Security Council, according to Japan's ambassador to the UN, Koro Besho. The international community has to put more pressure on North Korea, Ambassador Besho said. The missile was launched near the North Korean capital of Pyongyang, which is rare. Minutes after the missile was launched, residents in northern Japan received a text message urging them to seek shelter in a strong structure or a basement. We were awoken by sirens and messages from the government telling us to take cover, one local resident. The first message came in at 6:02 a.m. Japan time. Missile launched. Missile launched. It seems that the missile has been launched from North Korea. Please evacuate to building with strong structure or go to the basement. The second alert came in about 12 minutes later. Missile passed. Missile passed. A minute ago, the missile seems to have passed the airspace of this area. If you find anything suspicious, please don't come close to it. Report to the police and firefighter directly. Prime Minister Abe condemned the launch as a reckless act. We have fully grasped the movement of the missile immediately after their launch and have been taking every possible effort to protect the lives of people, he said. It is a serious and grave threat which impairs the safety and peace of the region. Pyongyang's missile tests are banned under United Nations Security Council resolutions. But that hasn't stopped current North Korean leader Kim Jong-un from attempting to rapidly develop his country's nuclear and missile programs. Analysts say North Korea believes developing a nuclear weapon that can fit atop a missile powerful enough to reach the United States is the only way Pyongyang can deter any US-led efforts at regime change. The country has long maintained that it will only abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons if the United States ends what Pyongyang calls the American hostile policy to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, as North Korea is officially known. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump is pursuing what it calls a strategy of peaceful pressure to rein in North Korea's weapons programs. The goal is to put enough diplomatic and economic pressure on Pyongyang in order to push them to the negotiating table. Last week, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Trump hinted that the strategy appeared to be working. Trump mused at a rally in Phoenix that Kim might now respect the United States. At a State Department briefing Wednesday in Washington, Tillerson said the brief respite in the missile launches may have been an example of North Korea demonstrating restraint. If Trump and Tillerson believed North Korea backed down, they were sorely mistaken, Mount said. They're not going to volunteer to do this, give up their weapons. Ever, he said. It's a matter of bargaining. And North Korea has signaled over and over again that the price is really high. North Korea may also be considering more actions. Another U.S. official says U.S. spy satellites had been observing preparations for a ballistic missile test that would be most likely an intermediate-range missile that could reach Guam, the small U.S. territory in the western Pacific that Pyongyang threatened earlier this month. The official says the assessment is ongoing. The launch was also likely a signal to Japan, analysts say, as it comes the day after the Northern Viper military drills ended between the United States and Japan on Hokkaido. Analysts say it's likely part of a North Korea strategy to drive a wedge between the U.S. and its two main allies in the region, Japan and South Korea. Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Suga told reporters this launch could endanger peace and security in the Asia-Pacific region. It is also very dangerous and problematic in terms of the traffic safety of planes and ships. The launch is an obvious violation of UN resolutions. We cannot tolerate these repeated provocations by the North. We condemn this in the strongest possible way, he added. The United States is currently participating in its annual 10-day Ulchi Freedom Guardian military exercises with South Korea, which began on August 21. Those drills are more logistical and defensive in nature, though Pyongyang sees them as provocative, whereas the Northern Viper drills could be considered more operational, Mount said. South Korea's foreign ministry condemned the North Korean launch as yet another provocation despite grave messages of warning, in a statement Tuesday. The North Korean regime needs to realize that denuclearization is the only true path to securing its security and economic development and needs to come to the path for nuclearization dialogue instead of conducting its reckless provocation, the statement said.